Have you ever just stopped in your tracks and felt that deep, unsettling ache? Not just physical pain, but that gnawing feeling in your gut, that weight on your chest, that whispers, "Why do I feel this way?" It's a question that has echoed through the minds of thinkers for millennia. Why do we suffer? We often confuse pain with suffering. Think of it like this. Stub your toe. That's pain. It's sharp, immediate, unpleasant. But then, imagine losing someone you love. The initial shock, the physical ache in your chest, that's pain. But the days, weeks, months, even years of grief, the emptiness, the feeling that a part of you is missing, that is suffering. It's a much deeper, more complex emotional state, woven into the very fabric of our being. And it's this profound question that philosophers have wrestled with, trying to understand its nature, its origins, and perhaps its purpose. Let's journey back in time to ancient India, and for a while explore with the wisdom of Buddhism. Perhaps no other philosophy has given us such a systematic framework for understanding suffering. The Buddha didn't shy away from it. He declared it as an intrinsic part of human existence. This is the first noble truth. Suffering is universal. It touches everyone, from the king in his palace to the beggar on the street. Buddha taught that there are three kinds of sufferings. First, there's the obvious one, physical and mental pain, getting old, getting sick, facing death. We all experience it. You see it in the aching joints of an elderly grandparent or the crushing anxiety of a student before a big exam. It's unavoidable. Then there's the distress of impermanence and change. Think about it. That perfect summer vacation, it ends. That cherished relationship, it might change or even dissolve. That promotion you desperately wanted, you might not get it. Or maybe you do get it, only to realize it doesn't bring the lasting happiness you expected. It's the pain of wanting things to stay the same when everything is in constant flux. And finally, there's a deeper, more subtle kind of suffering, an existential angst. It's the unsettling feeling of simply being human, of being alive in a world that often feels beyond our control, knowing we are subject to birth, death, and rebirth. It's that quiet dread you might feel late at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering about your place in the vastness. So, where does this suffering come from according to Buddhism? At its heart are what's called the three poisons: greed, our insatiable desire for more pleasure, more possessions, and more experiences; hatred, our aversion, anger towards others in challenging situations; and ignorance, our fundamental misunderstanding of reality, thinking things are permanent when they are not, clinging to a sense of self that is constantly changing. Imagine holding onto a handful of sand, trying to keep it from slipping through your fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes. This is like our craving or attachment. We grasp at what we think will make us happy and desperately avoid what we dislike. Buddha tells us it's this very grasping, clinging, avoidance is the source of our sufferings. We are perpetually chasing fleeting moments, and when they inevitably change or disappear, we suffer. Now, let's fast forward to a more modern time, to the profound and sometimes unsettling ideas of existentialism. If Buddhism points to attachment as the root, existentialism shines a spotlight on something else: meaninglessness. In a world where traditional sources of meaning, like religion, have receded for many, we're left with a stark reality. The universe, in its vastness, seems indifferent to our struggles, our hopes, our dreams. This can lead to what we call an existential crisis, that unsettling feeling that life lacks inherent purpose, that our identity is somehow adrift. Think of someone like a successful professional who achieves all their career goals only to feel a profound emptiness. They have everything they thought they wanted, but the why of it all remains elusive. As the philosopher Albert Camus famously wrote, "The absurd is born in this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. We crave meaning, but the world offers no easy answers. The unsettling part of existentialism is the realization of our radical freedom. There's no script, no divine plan dictating our every move. We are condemned to be free, to choose our own values, to create our own meaning. This can be liberating, yes, but also incredibly daunting. It's why existential angst, that deep-seated anxiety about our freedom and responsibility, is a form of suffering in itself. Stoicism. The Stoics believed that suffering isn't necessarily about what happens to us, but about how we perceive what happens. In the Stoic view, no event is inherently good or bad. It simply is. Imagine you're stuck in a massive traffic jam. The typical reaction is frustration, anger, stress. But a Stoic would say, is this traffic inherently bad, or is it my judgment, my expectation of a smooth journey, that's making me suffer? The core of Stoic wisdom for dealing with suffering lies in distinguishing between what is within our control and what is outside our control. Epictetus, a former slave who became a renowned Stoic philosopher, urged us to focus solely on what we can influence, our thoughts, our actions, our responses. So, if you're facing a difficult illness, you can't control the illness itself, but you can control how you respond to it, with courage, patience, and acceptance. If a loved one betrays you, you can't control their actions, but you can control your reaction to their betrayal, choosing not to let bitterness consume you. The Stoics teach us to change our relationship with pain, to see it not as something to be avoided at all costs, but as a part of life that we can choose to meet with resilience and virtue. Now let's turn to a much more provocative voice, that of Friedrich Nietzsche. While many philosophies seek to lessen or transcend suffering, Nietzsche argued something radical. Suffering isn't just tolerable, it's necessary for greatness. Think about an athlete. They push their bodies to the absolute limit, enduring grueling training, muscle soreness, and even injuries. Why? Because they understand that without that pain, without that struggle, they cannot achieve their peak performance. They cannot become truly strong. Nietzsche believed that suffering, resistance, and misfortune are the crucible in which our character is forged. He famously said, "Examine the lives of the best and most fruitful people, and ask yourselves whether a tree that is supposed to grow to a proud height can dispense with bad weather and storms." He wasn't suggesting we actively seek out pain, but that we embrace it as an indispensable part of a full, rich life. It's through overcoming challenges that we discover our true strength and potential. For Nietzsche, to truly live means to affirm the entirety of life, including its hardships. Christianity. Stepping into a different spiritual realm, Christianity views suffering through the lens of divine purpose and redemption. Here, suffering isn't accidental. It's often seen as part of a larger, divinely ordained plan. Many Christians believe that suffering can display God's strength through our weakness. It's through our trials that we learn resilience, grow in faith, and draw closer to a higher power. Think of someone who endures a long, debilitating illness, but emerges with a profound sense of gratitude and a renewed commitment to helping others. From a Christian perspective, their suffering wasn't wasted. It was redeemed for a greater purpose, perhaps to inspire others or to deepen their own spiritual journey. The Bible tells us that there is a rightful place for suffering in the lives of those whom God loves. It can be a refining fire, preparing us, molding us, and strengthening our resolve. It's about enduring with faith and committed, persevering obedience, even when the path is difficult. Of course, this perspective brings up what philosophers call the problem of evil and suffering. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, why does suffering exist? This is a question that has challenged thinkers for centuries, prompting deep theological and philosophical debates. Let's bring our journey closer to home, to modern philosophy and science. Today, we also look at suffering through an evolutionary lens. From a purely biological standpoint, pain serves a vital purpose. It tells us when something is wrong, protecting us from harm. Touch a hot stove, and pain tells you to pull your hand away. That's a survival mechanism. But then, why the suffering? Why the deep, prolonged emotional anguish? Why is mere informational sensitivity not enough? Contemporary thought suggests that suffering, as a deep subjective feeling, fundamentally impacts our entire life. How we act, how we connect with others, and what we prioritize. And here's where we circle back to something uniquely human. While animals experience pain, our suffering has a distinctive quality. We don't just suffer from physical ailments or lack of basic needs. As Viktor Frankl, a survivor of concentration camps, profoundly observed, humans suffer most deeply when they are unable to find any meaning in their lives. This lacking any sense for some meaning is a fundamental form of emotional, cognitive, and spiritual suffering that truly sets us apart. It's why someone can have all their physical needs met, yet still feel utterly lost and in despair. So, why do we suffer? As we've seen, there's no single simple answer. It's a multifaceted phenomenon, a tapestry woven with threads of biology, psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. Whether it's the inescapable reality of existence in Buddhism, the burden of meaninglessness in existentialism, the misjudgment of our perceptions in Stoicism, the crucible of greatness in Nietzsche, or a divine purpose in Christianity, suffering is undeniably central to the human experience. Perhaps the diversity of these perspectives isn't meant to give us one answer, but to challenge us to develop a more nuanced understanding, to look deeper within ourselves, and to consider the myriad ways suffering manifests and the varied meanings it can hold. What does suffering mean to you? And how might these philosophical insights shift your perception, allowing you to not just endure, but perhaps to truly understand and even grow from the depths of your own consciousness?